swimmer, or hi everyone. Right now I'm just deciding where to put my blueberries. I have 2 blueberry plants that are ready to be put in, and autumn is a great time for planting blueberry plants. Now these are Siberian blueberries, which means they're really cold hardy. They will take cold as it can possibly get, down to something like minus 40 degrees Celsius. It's huge, the amount of cold they can take. So here, they're gonna be fine.
Bok, I'm Mandy O. This is Grow, Make, Cook, and welcome to my garden. I grew up in Australia in a permaculture family, but after we got married, Mr. O and I moved here to his home country of Croatia. I am a passionate and hands-on homemaker and gardener, and I love life's simple pleasures. So join me on my journey, and together we can learn to grow, make, and cook. This is the second week in October, or listopad.
Now, blueberries are a fickle thing, and usually the American sort, the round blueberries, like really acidic soil. Now that's not quite so true for the Siberian blueberry. The Siberian blueberry has a longer, a more elongated fruit, but also is not quite so picky with how much acid it requires. But it still doesn't like very alkaline soil, so we need to do some testing. Now, for the purpose of my testing, I have 2 little containers of a non-reactive material, so I'm using my egg cups. And in here I have bicarbonate soda, bicarb, and I've got just regular white vinegar. It's quite strong. This is about 9% acetic acid, so it's really tough vinegar. And all I'm going to do is take a little bit of my freshly turned earth, still damp, but it's nice, it's right where I'm going to plant my blueberry, and I'm going to add just a little bit of earth to both containers. I've got a little bit of water in here with the bicarb so that it'll mix up, and I'm looking for a reaction. Now, I'm not getting any bubbles in either, which means I've got fairly neutral soil. That's a good sign. Now, if either of those samples had bubbled, I would know that my soil was either alkaline or acid. So if you get bubbles in the side with the vinegar, you know that your soil is quite alkaline. And if you get bubbles in the one with the bicarb, you know that your soil is quite acidic. And the fact that I've got no bubbles in either means that it's fairly neutral. That's a good sign for these particular blueberries. Now, Siberian blueberries, as opposed to the American sort, don't require very acidic soil. Now, the American style blueberries, the ones that are round and look like the blueberries that you get in the shops, they require very acidic conditions because that's where they grow in nature. But these ones that I've got here, the Siberian variety, are not quite so fussy. So, because my soil is neutral and not alkaline and not acidic, all I'm going to do is just once or twice during the growing season add a little bit of vinegar to my watering can when I water these guys, and that should be more than enough acid to keep them happy. The important thing for these guys is that they have a lovely, warm, sunny position, and we're going to fill the hole with a lot of compost because the Siberian blueberry really likes rich soil, lots of good food. So let's dig a hole. This soil is fairly rich already. I have spent a lot of time mulching and improving this soil, but I am going to put a whole lot of this beautiful sifted compost into that hole and mix it in with the soil around it really well, because these guys are fairly long-lived, they're perennials, and we want to set these guys up for a long fruiting future. this guy I can feel is really tight in the box, and this container is completely broken. It's complete rubbish, that one. And I can see that his roots are quite tightly packed in there. So he wants to be planted at about the same level as the soil around them. You want to make sure that he's firmed in nicely. Let me just take the trowel out of there. And then I'm going to mulch around him. Now, you might be looking at that plant and thinking, oh, that's really leggy, and you know, he's requiring that stake to stay up. And once he's gone completely dormant, all of his leaves have died back for winter, I am going to give him quite a thorough prune. I may not even get any fruit next year. Now, I wouldn't expect to see fruit in any real numbers yet anyway. They take a little while to mature. But I'm going to prune this one and the other one quite hard. Now, when you're planting blueberries, it's really important to plant two. Now, a really important thing with all blueberries is that you don't just plant one. You need to plant two of them because you need lots of cross-pollinating opportunities. So, just probably about 2 meters apart from each other so that they've both got room to kind of develop and grow, I'm planting the other one. And this one over here looks lovely. He's even got roots poking out the bottom, quite a lot of them, so I'm going to have to be a bit rough with him to get him out of the pot. Might even have to cut them. But having two means that there's lots of cross-pollinating opportunities, and really on their own you'll never get a very good crop of blueberries, but you put two of them in close proximity and you're going to be getting bumper crops once they mature. Oh, come to visit, huh? You checking out my compost? You checking out my compost? Okay. The other thing that you need to really consider for blueberries is drainage. Now, they don't like swampy feet, but they also don't like to be dry. So lots of organic material in your soil, like the compost, is going to help to retain moisture. Now, on the other front, I don't have to worry. We are on a hill, and so it's never going to puddle and pool and get swampy. The water will all just run off. But if you are on a really level, really flat, or even in a hollow, think about improving the drainage or even putting them up into a raised bed so that your blueberries do not get swampy. They don't like to be dry and they don't like wet, swampy feet. Now all that's left to do is to give both of these little guys a really good soak in. Always water any new plant that you put in, but these guys shouldn't really need very much attention until next spring when they really start to get growing. So this pile of half-rotted, mostly rotted in places, wood I have been collecting to build the next stages of my garden bed. So if you're building along, what we've done so far, or last week, is turned over and taken the turf off of the top of the soil. Now what we need to do is put the edging in. So if you're using a metal press down edging or even just logs to edge your garden bed, this would be the time to lay them out inside the area that you've got set up so that we can start digging a hole. I have laid out the edge of my garden bed, so I know exactly where I need to dig my hole. Now to do that, I've just run a string line and laid the bricks roughly in the right shape. I'm not worried about it being perfect. We can always come back and fiddle with them later. But what I am doing now is digging essentially a great big trench. What we want is a nice big deep hole down the middle of this garden bed. Now, the reason for this is that last summer taught me something very important, and that is that drought comes all the way here to Europe now. And so the Australian techniques of super water wise and adding lots of carbon underneath your garden beds so that the garden beds themselves hold on to the moisture, not water but moisture in the soil, is really vitally important. So we are designing my new garden bed so that this one, at a very minimum, will be more resilient and will be able to carry itself through a little bit better, hopefully, next summer if we have another trouble with not much rain. Now, into this hole goes a very interested Maya and all of these broken, rotted bits of wood. What I'm looking to do is to create a nice, big, dense bed of all this rotting wood and old bits of, well, just about everything really is going in here. There's mushrooms and no, have that one. And everything is going in here. Now, the trick with this is to kind of stomp them in. We want to make a nice, dense, thick layer. Now, on top of all of this wood, what I'm putting is half-finished compost. This has actually only been sitting there for about 6 months. So as you can see, it's a lot of straw and grass and half broken down things. These are not finished compost. This is just a heap that needs turning, and instead I'm turning it into here. The aim of this is to add some nitrogen and things back into this bed. So wood, when it breaks down, sometimes when it's not finished breaking down, can suck a lot of nitrogen out of the soil. And the point of adding all of this grassy material that's quite rich is to make a buffer between my plants, which will grow on the top, and the water retention material, in this case the wood, at the bottom. So we're kind of building it up like layers, like an onion, layers. So the bottom layer is the wood, then we've got this coarse layer of high nutrient stuff in the middle, and then we're going to let that rest, let it get rained on, let the weather take care of it for a couple of days, and then we'll start filling it back in with the soil that we want to grow things in. Now that that's just about filled up, I think that's just about all the time we've got today. So if you like what we're doing, please like the video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you want notifications, use the bell icon below. And until next time then, do widzenia.